Hey Patreon, how are you guys doing? Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. This video is about financial preparedness. There's a lot of different aspects of preparedness, as you guys have seen and heard about. You know, there's security and tactical preparedness, there's spiritual preparedness, there's mental preparedness, there's your physical ability, as in like physical fitness preparedness. There is food and food storage and preps, part of your preparedness. But just as important is your financial preparedness. What do I mean by that? Well, debt is a big part of it. If you're in debt, then you're not really free. Somebody has their claws in you. Somebody has say over how your life goes. So my biggest thing is to encourage you guys to be debt free. I know it's difficult. I know there's a lot to life and stuff like that, and for some people it's just impossible right now. But even if you're paying a little tiny extra every paycheck, you'll get there. And if you get a raise, okay, like here's some basic stuff that I taught as a financial specialist for different commands as well as in the Navy. I'd always talk to the young guys coming in, brand new. And I would talk to them any chance I got, and I would tell them, say, hey, for your financial well-being in your future, here's a really good way to go about it. It's not the only way, it's not maybe the best way, I don't know. But here's a really good way to go about it. And this applies to anybody in life. And you don't have to be brand new in whatever job you're doing right now. It's just start now. So what I told him is I said, take 50 bucks, 20 bucks, whatever it is. Say 20 bucks out of each paycheck and put it into savings or investments. Something for your future. Then what you do is every single time you get a pay raise, a bonus, whatever it is, you take half of it and you add that amount to your monthly contribution. You know, so like in the military, they get paid the 1st and the 15th. So almost every 2 weeks. It's roughly, it comes out, it's kind of a weird thing. They don't get paid every 2 weeks. They get paid every 1st and 15th. So basically 2 paychecks a month. So 40 bucks a month starting off. And then every time you get a pay raise, like say you get a $10 a month pay raise, we'll add 5 bucks to your savings/investing. So then it's $45 a month. So you're still able to increase your standard of living. You're still able to get nicer things, get better things, stuff like that. But you're increasing the amount going towards your savings and your investments. I always teach them start off with an emergency fund. What's an emergency fund? Emergency fund would basically be like a month of expenses, just in case. Because if you have an emergency fund, you never really have an emergency. Because like say your car breaks down. Normally if you don't have money to pay for it, it becomes an emergency, right? You're freaking out about it. What do I do? Oh, I gotta put it on a credit card, or I gotta take out a loan or something like that, or borrow money from friends or relatives, something like that. You don't want to do that. If you have an emergency fund, you just say, oh, okay. You take the car into the shop, you get it fixed, you pay it, or you buy the parts, do it yourself, save some money, great. Then you're okay. You're covered. It's that peace of mind, just like preparedness is, just like prepping, just like food storage. It's all just peace of mind. So emergency fund first. Try your best, if you're just starting off, to not go into debt in the first place. I know it's difficult, especially young sailors. They want to buy, they get a bonus or whatever it is. They save up money because they go on a deployment or something like that, and they come back and they didn't spend much money because, they're underway and there's nowhere really to spend much money. So they get back and they're like, oh, I got a bunch of money, I'm going to go buy a fancy new car. I'm going to go buy a new Camaro or a new Mustang or a Challenger or something like that. I'm going to get the SRT also, yeah. monthly payments, I can afford that. No, don't do it. I know it's cool and it's fun, but try to avoid these traps. Buy a little $3,000 or $4,000 car, commuter car, a little truck or something like that, SUV, whatever it is. Pay cash. Stay out of debt. If you're in debt, try to work your way out of it. But anyway, explained that, and I showed these young sailors using the current pay charts of the time, and assuming a tiny little raise every year. A lot of the time I didn't even assume raises. I think I assumed like a 1% pay raise every year, because sometimes the military gets 2%, sometimes they get nothing, sometimes they get 3%, whatever. I'd say probably averages out to like 1% a year. It doesn't even keep up with inflation. But so 1% a year, starting off with $20, and then assuming a normal, basically not a quick progression in rank and advancement, but just a normal one, maybe a little on the slower side, and I would show them, not even including bonuses, and I'd show them that by the time they retired at 20 years as an E6, they didn't even have to make E7, E8, E8, E9, and I'm not even talking about officers. Officers have it, their numbers would be astronomically higher. But say they got out as an E6 after 20 years. There's no reason why that person could not be a millionaire the day they leave the military. This Navy, for example. But, it applies to almost any service. And I didn't even count in special pays, really. I showed them some of the numbers on if they included special pays or if they didn't. Special pays meaning sea pay, submarine pay, hazardous duty pay, imminent fire pay, jump pay, dive pay, hazardous duty pay, anything like that. So, nuclear proficiency pay, nuclear trained people in the Navy running nuclear reactors get special pay. They get more pay because they're in a hazardous environment. Submariners get more pay. There's a lot of different pays. But anyway, the point is, even if you're late in life and you start this now, obviously the younger you can start this, the better. But if you haven't started it, do it now. Set aside a certain amount per paycheck. Start off building your emergency fund. And I don't know about banks nowadays. I don't like keeping cash in banks, a lot of cash. I have investments, yes, sure, but I would say keep your emergency fund or a sizable portion of your emergency fund in cash, hidden in your house, locked in your house, whatever. I know a good way to hide stuff in plain sight is you get an old an empty Miracle Whip jar or a mayonnaise jar, and what you do is you clean it out really well. Then you take just off-white spray paint and you spray paint the inside. So when you put the lid back on, it looks like it's full. Looks like it's full of mayonnaise. Put whatever you want inside. Your cash, maybe a handgun, some ammo, I don't know, whatever it is. Then just set it on the shelf, hidden in plain sight. Nobody's going to go through your your mayonnaise jars to see if there's stuff in there. If somebody's coming in to rob you, they're going to grab what's obvious. They're going to go for electronics, gun safes, stuff like that. So it's a good way to hide something in plain sight. And you can do this with different kinds of jars, different colors and stuff. It's just the general idea. You get it. You can do peanut butter. Spray paint a peanut butter color. Whatever. You guys get the point. You could even take a peanut butter jar or a mayonnaise jar, open it, take a film canister, which hardly exists anymore, or a pill bottle or something like that. Put some money, roll up some cash in it, put it in a Ziploc bag, shove it in there, put a plastic cellophane, something like that, over the top of the jar, then put the lid on so it's nice and sealed tight. Then maybe throw that in a Ziploc bag, then shove it down inside there. So it's completely inside. So if somebody does open it up, they see, well, if you open the mayonnaise jar, you don't put it in the fridge. So you could even do that, put it in the fridge. Just put it in the back of the fridge. Nobody will ever find that. But anyway, enough of that. Emergency fund, yeah, 1 month. of living expenses is a good goal. 3 months is better. A year is great. That is peace of mind, big time. So yeah, savings. That goes along with emergency fund isn't really the months of wages. I say savings. Emergency fund is like maybe a month of wages or a month of costs. Then your savings would be like 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, of bills, costs, all that kind of stuff. And these are all goals. Don't feel bad if you're not there yet. Then you go into investments. One of my recommendations, personal recommendation, is to not do any investments until you're debt-free. Debt-free is the biggest thing, because if you're earning 10%, which is a good baseline for a stock market, say, or for investing in general, say 10% is your goal, which is good. Over time, you will snowball and get that compounding interest train going, and you will be a very happy person over the years. But if you're earning 10% on your investments and you have a credit card that's charging you 15, 20%, well, you're losing every month. Seriously, you're losing. So pay off your debts before investing. I'm not talking about your primary residence, like your mortgage. Most people's mortgage, unless their house is underwater, if they paid $300,000 for a house and the housing market crashed, which it did a while back, and say that house is only worth $200,000, that you could look at as a debt. But if you have a normal housing situation, you have equity in your house and stuff like that, it's not. I don't look at that as a debt. It's an asset. So investments. What are forms of investments? There are a lot of different ones. There are stocks, bonds, real estate, CDs, real estate, tax liens you can get into. There's a lot of different things. Put it that way. I'm not going to really get into everything. You can learn about them online. One of the things about learning about investments, learn about them. I know time is of an essence. We all have lots of things on our plate, and time is difficult. But with that said, here, just a sec. I gotta get a drink, so just a sec. I apologize. Water is good for you, by the way. I know you knew that, because you guys are smart. You guys are here, so you got to be smart. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh shoot! Now I brain farted. Okay, yeah, learning about investments. So some people think that they can go to college or take college classes about investing. Well, ask yourself, is that always the best way to go about it? What is the net worth of that college professor that's teaching you about investing? Versus, what is the net worth of somebody that is a stock market guru, a millionaire, a billionaire, or a real estate guru, millionaire, billionaire, whatever? Learn from the people that do. Like they say, people that do, or people that know, do, whatever. People that are good, they do. People that can't do, teach. Well, learn from the experts. I remember one of my good books when I was learning about real estate was actually Donald Trump. Donald Trump had some good books on real estate investing. Same with Robert Kiyosaki is a really good real estate investor. He wrote the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, which if you haven't read that, read it. Very good series on investing. I've been in investing since probably 1998, 99-ish. Got into the stock market, then listened to smart, intelligent people and got out before the crash. Bought back in at the bottom, rode it back up. Several of the crashes along the way I was also aware of because I listened to smart people I watched the indicators. I got out at the right time, got back in at the bottom, and did pretty well. So that's what you do in stocks and investing. You buy low, sell high. You also don't get emotional. That's a key to investing. If you say, I hate it when people say, oh, I've lost so much out of my IRA or my Roth or my 401k or whatever it may be, my investments. No. And I ask them, did you sell? They're like, no. I'm like, well, you didn't learn. You didn't lose anything then. What do don't act like that. You're just down. I said, look at this as an opportunity to buy more. When stocks go down, they're on sale. Buy more. If they're good companies, they'll go back. Just like gold and silver. You don't buy gold when it's at $2,000, $2,500 an ounce. No. You buy it when it's at like $800 or $900 an ounce. Just like silver. So last time I looked, silver is like $28, $29 an ounce right now. Well, I'm not buying now. I bought when it was $8 an ounce or $10 an ounce. I still have silver that I bought at $4 an ounce even. There's a lot of good investment tools out there. I was a day trader for a while, swing trader for a while. I won some, lost some. All in all said, I was very successful at it. I made a lot more money than I lost. But it takes a lot of time and dedication. I just don't have the time and stuff to do that anymore. But there's a lot of different investment tools out there. If you don't have the time to learn about it properly, and you don't know what you're doing, don't give your money to an investment advisor. Don't do that. Well, I guess you can if you really want to, but I would just recommend doing a little bit of research. TD Ameritrade, used to be Scottrade, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, a lot of these different stock buying tools that you can get into. They're free, they cost so much per trade or something like that. No big deal, don't worry about that. Set up an account with one that you feel is good, and then they usually have little stock research tools. Look at mutual funds. Mutual funds are a group, it's basically a group of stocks. So you're not just buying one stock. Because if you buy one stock and the company fails, well, you just lost. It's more, you can win more also though. I'm talking about novice investors, don't know anything about the whole thing, don't want to spend the time to get into it. And this is just my thoughts. I'm not a registered or certified investment advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just offering you some ideas, empowering you with some knowledge. Don't say that Michael told me to do this, this, and this, and then I lost all my money. Please don't do that. This is just advice for you guys, things you can think about and look into. But look into them. First off, go for no load, no fee, no load stocks. So basically what that means is that there's no cost, there's not a bunch of fees associated with it. Yes, you got to pay for the trade to get into it, but you're not going to be like day trading mutual funds. So don't worry about the trading fees. If it costs you $7 to buy in, who cares? $7 to sell, who cares? No big deal. But look for a good mutual fund that has had good gains, averages over the period of time. Look for one that has done well in the short term, like 1 year. Look at ones that have done good over the 1 year, the 5 year, the 10 year, the 25 year, and the history of the fund. Look at all those numbers and make sure they're all pretty good, that the fund does really well overall. And then think about getting into it. It's a good way to diversify your portfolio without buying individual stocks. It's a good way to get into the stock market without having to do a ton of research and watching it all the time. And don't worry about if it's down. Like I said, leave your emotions at the door, and only put things in your investments, because investments can lose. You can lose in investments, yes. Only put money into your investments that you can spend. Think of it as spent. Think about that investment is, say you put a $500 in, $100 in, whatever it is. That $500 you put into mutual funds, you spent that money. That money is gone. You are not relying on that money to pay bills, to have money to put food on your table, nothing. That money is gone. Erase it from your memory. If you want to add to it, that's fine. Add to it, then erase that from your memory. Look at it, keep track of it, of course, but think long term, 10, 20 years from now. You'll be able to pull that money out, and you'll be better off for it. So anyway, that's enough about that. Compounding interest, one of the greatest, most powerful forces on earth. That goes right in the line of power of water. Like, you know how water can turn stone into sand, can wear away mountains, can change the entire terrain of an area. Water is a very powerful force over time. Compounding interest is amazing. That means, say you put in $1,000 into whatever. Say you get 10%. So at the end of the year, say actually $100. $100. At the end of that year, you have $110. Okay? The next year, you earn 10%. We are not earning 10% on the $100 anymore. You're earning on the $110. So the year after that, you have $121. Then after that, you are earning interest on the $121. It snowballs quickly. And after a while, 5, 10, 20 years, oh, it is a beautiful thing to watch. Beautiful thing to watch. It is amazing what can happen with compounding interest. And there's only certain investment tools that have compounding interest. Like real estate doesn't have compounding interest, but it is a very good solid investment, because real estate does go down, yes, but historically it rises as fast, if not faster, than the stock market. So it's a good investment tool. Discipline is important. If you want to invest every month, you can set up things that will help you with discipline, so you don't spend that money. Like auto payments, auto investments, automatically have 50, 100, whatever it is amount of money going into your, automatically buying into your mutual fund. Yes, there's a $7 trade. So what? You only bought $93 worth of that mutual fund. Who cares? It's still, you'll make that back. Another thing is you want to look at mutual funds with buy-ins and reciprocal buy-ins that are in your price range. Some mutual funds, it costs $1 million to buy in, period. You can't get into the mutual fund if you don't put $1 million into it. Obviously, there's a lot of ones that are way less. There's a lot of them out there that are $1,000 minimum buy-in, but there's also a lot with $500 buy-in, $250, even $100. So look at the ones that you can buy into that are in your price range, and then look at your monthly also. What's your minimum monthly? So take that into account. So do a monthly thing. Set it up on auto pay. Then you don't have to worry about it. And like I said, if you then get a raise, say you get a $20 a month pay raise. So then what you do is you take that, say $50 or say $100. $100 a month you're putting into your investments. Well, add $10 to it. Just put $110 in there every month. And this is after your emergency fund is established. Emergency fund is number one. Then 3 months worth of living expenses as a savings. And I'm not saying savings account. You can keep that in cash hidden at your house or on your property, something like that. Those two things first. Then debt free. Then when you're debt free, the exclusion of your primary residence or real estate investments, which are investments. After those three things are met, then get into investing. Investing is number 4. Don't jump the gun here. Be realistic about things. And also, once you get debt-free, don't go back into debt. Do your absolute best to not go back into debt. Have discipline. Delayed gratification is very important. If you want something, save for it. Work hard. Prioritize it. Not at the expense of everything else. But do these things. Prioritization. Prioritization is very important also. Like I said, emergency fund, savings, debt-free investing. Emergency fund. What's a good amount for emergency fund? Well, it depends on your situation. You may do $1,000 emergency fund. You may do $5,000. You may do $10,000. Or you may use a number like a month of living expenses. Something like that. I would suggest trying for at least $5,000. At least $5,000 for an emergency fund. An emergency fund doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to put that down on buying a new Camaro. No. It also doesn't mean, taking a cruise, around the world cruise, or something like that. Emergency fund can, however, though, mean a family member dies across country from you, and you got to buy plane tickets, you got to rent a car, you got to buy a hotel. Those expenses can add up very quickly, especially if you got to fly several people back. Think about if it's your wife and you and 2 kids, how much that's going to cost. That $5,000 is going to go very quickly. You're going to run out of your emergency fund in one event, possibly. And then as soon as if you have to use your emergency fund, then then that becomes number 1 priority. You're back to square one. Stop everything else. Don't have to necessarily stop if you're doing an auto pay investing. You don't necessarily have to stop that. But put as much else on hold until you build that emergency fund back to where you were. Also, if you get to a $5,000 emergency fund, or whatever your number is, say it's $1,000, whatever the number is, say 5, throw that out there. And then you get 3 months of living expenses set aside. And then you're debt free. Well, at that point, maybe even try to go to, instead of 5,000, try to bump it up to 6,000. Then maybe do a little bit of investing. Then maybe if you get a little extra cash, bump it up to 7,000. Bump it up till you get 10,000 or more dollars. Because like I said, you have a family emergency, that stuff can go quickly. Yes, you have food storage. And as a prepper, you have a lot of other preps that give you peace of mind, that you can feed your family. But what about your other bills? Say you get injured, lose a job, or the primary wage earner in your home, God forbid, passes away, gets killed, something like that, or it loses the ability to work. Yes, you can eat via food storage, awesome, but that's limited. Maybe you have some garden and some chickens. Great, good on you, that's awesome. Maybe you'll be able to eat, but what about everything else? Emergency fund can help cover that. Then maybe you got to move into your savings. But the more emergency fund you have, the better off you'll be. So I hope this helps you guys, empowers you guys, gives you good knowledge. It's a little longer video, so it's probably going to take forever to upload on my rural high-speed internet, but it's alright. It's a good talk with you guys. I think these are very important things to talk about. I hope I didn't bore you guys and you're like, snooze. So make a comment below that you didn't fall asleep during the video. That way I know that you actually watched the entire thing. Please. That will give me, that'll help motivate me that you're actually watching. I love you guys. Prep a little every day. Emergency fund, that can be your preps. Please, I want you guys to be able to take care of yourselves. To be empowered, not to be controlled by the government or other forces that you owe debts to. There's a time and a place for asking for help. Yes, got it. Not knocking those that do. But please, try to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. I love you guys, and blessings to you and yours.